something wrong with the world today. I don't know what it is. Something's wrong with our eyes. We're seeing things in a different way.
I already said how much I like that song, and I just think it's cool because it automatically pumps you up and it takes you back, and I just think it's awesome. This whole entire series has been awesome, and then Tony mentioned that just a minute ago. I was like, he's going to expect me to say awesome, so I'm going to say excited. And the reason why that's so funny is because growing up, I said awesome a lot, and I said awesome so much that I had an awesome jar. And every time my mom heard me use the word awesome, I had to put a dime in the jar. You'd think that'd be no big deal, but within a week it was already like $10. So, when you're, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, that's a lot of money. It's $10. So now it's not, but then it really was, and it's just. It's awesome. I love seeing God work. I love this series, talking about living on the edge. We've been talking about the life of Elisha, and he is undoubtedly one of the most wicked, awesome prophets you've ever read out the Bible. He did some amazing things. He was just a phenomenal guy. And we've learned about all the things that he's done up to this point. He's done some crazy things. I mean, he prayed overboard, and we talked about that, it just seemed like all hope was gone, and that's what, he laid over top of a boy, and he prayed, and he laid on top of him again, and, the boy sneezed 7 times and came back to life, and I think it's just amazing about the things that God can do. It will just get to that point. So we've been talking about how can we get to that point? How can we live on the edge like Elisha, that we can be like that? Because I look around and we see so many people, they're just going through the motions of life, and we're like, man, they're really excited. Why am I not excited? Or they've got a wicked, awesome marriage. Why don't I? Or they seem to have all together and all the finances. Why don't I? And we kind of wonder all these things. And if we're not careful, that'll get us down. And especially if we're not careful, like we talk about on the news and the radio and TV, a lot of times we look out and it seems like all that we can see is war and destruction. We start out 2014 and we're like, okay, this is going to be awesome. That we set new resolutions and we set these new ideas that maybe we're going to lose weight or we're going to get in shape, and maybe you've been doing your exercise. I've been doing mine, but maybe you've been like trying to get in shape and get healthy, or maybe you just can't get ahead, or this year we're going to get out of debt and then already the washing machine's broke. Or maybe this year we're going to pay everything off and you realize that, well, we need a new car. There's always something. Always something. And then you hear about all this stuff going on about with our government and taxes and prices and oil and gas and all this stuff. So I want to start today about this one question. Do you ever whenever you look out, all you see is just war? Just destruction, just war, just terrible, whether it be in your marriage, whether it be in your home, whether it be amongst your family, that whenever you look out, you just see no hope, no future. Like here in the county that we live in, what we see a lot of times is drugs. All about drugs. Whether it be prescription drugs or non-prescription drugs or what, it just seems like that's just everywhere right now. And now everybody's complaining and talking about their heat bills, and it's everywhere. So do you ever just look around and this is all you see? And sometimes for our kids, we look at it and it's like, man, what is it going to be like in 30 years for our children? You ever wonder this? I mean, if this is stuff that we're facing now, and we didn't face none of this 30 years ago, what does the future hold 30 years from now? And sometimes, guys, when I look out, this is all I see. No hope, just destruction. I see families being torn apart. We see divorce rate going up. We see people's finances just crumble. We see people losing their jobs. Just this week, again, the hospital is talking about laying people off again. We see war. It doesn't bring too much hope to us, does it? Because we want the future to be bright for our kids. We want the future to be bright for us. I someday would like to retire. Someday. So just this week, from our retirement system, I went online to see how long I could retire for. So if I were to retire right now, I would withdraw $117 a month. Right now. And see, the reason why that's funny is I had a goal set when I was 18 that I was going to retire by 35. I've got 3 months to go. I am not going to make it at all, $117 a month. And I'm like, man, what's it going to be like? I have to work till like I'm 72. I don't even know if I can work when I'm 72. Is this what you see? Sometimes in your future? And I know that I've been talking to these other people like, man, I can't retire. Or I'm going to retire from this job so I can go over here so I can at least make enough money to live on and survive. And then I talk to people who've got kids, and we have a little bit larger family than what some people might think, with four, and think, man, college and all this. It's just not what you see sometimes when you look out. Where's the hope? When I hear people talking about their spouse all the time, like they're dogs, that is sad. And they're talking about their spouses this way, like, man, what's the future going to hold for us? The good news is that we're not the only ones who've ever faced this. It actually gets much worse. We're going to look today about Elisha and what he faced here. I want you to, this is in 2 Kings, and this is just an amazing story. This is in 2 Kings chapter 6. I forgot to write down the chapter. I think it's chapter 6. About the king of Aram. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing story. And one time he looked out, and the only thing that he saw was destruction. He saw no hope. He saw no future. This is all that he saw. This is an amazing thing because you're not alone. You think there's no hope for your marriage, or no hope for your kids, or no hope for your job, or no hope for your future. You're not all alone. And this starts with verse 8. And Shannon's got the verses up here for you. And it says, when the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he would confer with his officers and say, we will mobilize our forces at such and such place. And I want to stop there just for a second. When you hear the word war, what do you guys think of? When you hear the word war, what do you think of? And I want you all to tell me. What do y'all think of? Dead? Like, what'd you say? Destruction. What do you think of?
Blood.
Blood? Sacrifice. I like that. What else you think of? Suffering. Anything else? Fear. Very good. Anything else? I think of all the stuff that the military's got. Used to, we would, growing up, we would play, I know my brother remembers this, we call it playing war. And we shot each other the BB guns, and it's a wonder we have our eyes. We played war all the time, and that's all it was. It's all about guns and destruction, and about two sides against each other. So here, I want to see that there's two people, there's two nations, two countries that are fighting each other. It's the nation of Israel and the nation of Aram. Now, the reason why that's important is what happens next. Because this guy, the king of Aram, he's the enemy. He's the bad guy. Okay? He's the bad guy. So I want you to say that. Now in verse 9 it says, but immediately Elisha the man of God would warn the king of Israel, do not go near that place, for the Arameans are planning to mobilize their troops there. So the king of Israel would send word to the place indicated by the man of God. Time and again Elisha warned the king so that he would be on the lookout. Okay, so to sum this up, here's what we just read. Okay, you got these two nations. You got the king of Aram and you've got the nation of Israel, and they're at war with each other. And the enemies over here, the king, what he would do, he would come in, he'd gather all of his troops, he'd gather his generals up, and he'd say, all right guys, here's the game plan, here's what we're going to do. We're going to gather down at this such and such place, and we're going to mobilize, we're going to attack the enemy. But what God would do is that God would come down and he'd speak to Elisha. He'd say, Elisha, here's what the enemy's doing. They're going to mobilize their troops down here, and here's where they're going to fight. And what Elisha would do, he'd go up and say, king of Israel, you might not want to go down this place because they're going to attack you down here. And he'd say, okay guys, go around it, go over here. Now, how would it make you feel if your enemy knew your every move? Would that not make you upset and angry? Like, man, every time we're going to do this, the enemy's just right there. They are. It's like they know what we're doing. But this is what we just said. Every time we think we're getting ahead in our marriage, it's like the enemy's just right there, and we start getting in arguments, we start dragging back down, we start fighting about money, we start arguing about family, or we start arguing about in-laws, and we all have them, okay? So we start arguing back and forth about these things. Every time you think you're starting to get ahead, and again, you're back to the same old place, time and time again. And that's what this enemy here was facing. Time and again, this is repeated over and over and over and over. And he got upset. Now, if you're this king, would that not make you upset? He was angry. And it picks back up here in verse 11. Verse 11. So the king of Aram, he became very upset over this. He called his officers together and demanded, which of you is the traitor who has been informing the king of Israel my plans? So naturally, you would think it'd be an inside job, right? You'd think it'd be one of your generals, somebody's paying him to tell the enemy off. But that's not what happened. Here's what happened. This is in verse 12. So here's what his general said. It is not us, my lord the king. One of the officers replied, Elisha, the prophet of Israel, tells the king of Israel, even the words you speak in the privacy of your bedroom. Now, how would you like to know that? that everything that you say in secret, even if it's a whisper, that God knows. And what God was doing is that the king, he finally got to the point where he would bring his generals to the privacy of his bedroom. Now, how much more private can you get than that? The privacy of his bedroom, and he would tell his generals, and I'm sure he loaded down, all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. These times, those guys, they're going down. I want bloodshed. I want wipe them out. You didn't even know he was talking quietly and in secret, in the privacy of his bedroom. God still knew about it. And then he would tell Elisha. So this is what he did. So here's what he done. He was very upset. This is verse 13. So the king, he was upset and infuriated. In verse 13, he said, go and find out where he is, the king commanded, so I can send troops to seize him. And the report came back, Elisha is at Dothan. So one night, the king of Aram sent a great army with many chariots and horses to surround the city. Now, he sent a great army. A great army. Now, I've done some research on this. That a great army during this time will be somewhere around 30,000 troops. 30,000. They're sending 30,000 troops for one man. Now, up to this point, did Elisha do anything wrong? See, he's just like us. Not that we're doing anything wrong. We're trying our best at home. We're trying our best by our spouses. We're trying our best at work. We're trying our best. And still yet the enemy is sending all these troops, all these forces against us. No wonder we have no hope. How would you feel if you was Elisha and there was a price tag out for your head, knowing that these great big troops, this great big army was coming out after you? Did that not make you feel like you had no hope? So here was a strategy. I want you to go and surround the city. And that's what they did in verse 14. So during the nighttime, everybody's supposed to be asleep. Everything is quiet as a mouse. This great army goes down. It looks like an awesome strategy to me. They go down and they surround the city. Now, I'm not really a military strategist. But this looks like just an awesome plan. So you've got Elisha, and he is fully surrounded. Fully surrounded. Now, if you're fully surrounded, that means there is no escape. There's no way out. Fully surrounded. It sounds like an awesome plan, don't it? It's like, all right, this king, he has got him cornered. He looks like he's won. And this is what we're saying to us this morning, that sometimes when it seems like there's no hope, and here again, he's surrounded. There's no way out. And many times Satan makes us feel that way. That there is no hope for your future. There's no hope for your marriage. She'll never change. There's no hope for your marriage. He'll never change. There's no hope for your kids. They're hellions. There's no hope. There's no hope for your in-laws. There's no hope. Things are never going to change. Because we feel that there's just no hope. 30,000 troops against you. Looks like there's no way out. But check this out. I love this. Verse 15. This is Elisha's servant. We talked about him last week. Elisha's servant. This is verse 15. When the servant of the man of God, again, is talking about the servant of Elisha, when he got up early the next morning and he went outside, there were troops, horses, and chariots everywhere. And here's what he said. He came back to Elisha. He said, "Oh, sir, what will we do now?" The young man cried to Elisha. I love this. What are we going to do? I mean, this guy is freaking out because he has seen all these troops. He's seen them surrounded. And he runs back to Elisha and says, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You raised a boy, from dead to life. You provided food for people. You've done all this amazing stuff. But now the enemy is upon us. There's no way out. We're going to die. What's going to happen?" Now, if I'm this guy, I'm going to be freaking out, okay? He's probably going to say, "God, we are as good as dead. Might as well give up. Give up. There's no hope. I'm going to die right now." I'm sure his life is flashing right before his eyes. There's no hope, no way out, no escape, no nothing. Nothing. And you think that would be pretty dark and doom and gloom. But look at the man of God who was living on the edge. Look at Elisha about what he said. Tell him about bold. This dude was living on the edge. This is verse 16. He said, "Don't be afraid, for there are more on our side than theirs." Is Elisha blind? There's two guys here, okay? Two guys. You got Elisha and you got his servant. Now Garrett's laughing because he thought that was funny. So you got two guys, okay? Elisha and his servant, two guys. And again, we've already said that they're surrounded. And they're not just surrounded by troops, they're surrounded by horses and chariots. Now I don't know how fast you can run, but I know that I cannot outrun a horse. This great big army. So we can't outrun them. There's no way out. There's no escape. And he says, don't be afraid. And I know that his servant is like, Elisha, you were smoking something because we are going to die because they're surrounding us. There's no way out. Okay? There's no way out. Don't be afraid. And look at what he says. Look at this. He said there's more on our side than theirs. Elisha, you are off your rocker because there's 2 of us and there's 30,000 of them. Come on. Guys, but look at what he did. This is amazing right now. Look what he did. This is verse 17. I love this. Then Elisha prayed, O Lord, open his eyes and let him see. The Lord opened the young man's eyes, and when he looked up, he saw that hillside around Elisha was filled with horses and chariots of fire. I love this. Tony mentioned a minute ago about his prayer life changing. Look at the prayer that this man prayed. All he said, "Oh Lord, open his eyes and let him see." Sometimes you feel like you might have like not a very effective prayer life. In fact, that maybe you hear all the time, go into your prayer closet and pray. Get on your knees and pray. Whether it be for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour, spend all this time in prayer. But look at this. How long will it take you to say that? Oh Lord, open his eyes and let him see. That's all he prayed. Look at how effective that was. That is all he said, and then instantly, bam! His servant's eyes were open. And not only were they open, he could see what he could not see. And he saw that the hillside was filled with the Lord's army. Filled with all these horses and chariots of fire. Now, which side would you rather be on? Would you rather be on the side? I want to be on the side with the horses and chariots of fire. First of all, that's awesome. The second of all, you know that God's going to win this. Right? That is cool. I'd like to see that myself. That's awesome. But here's the thing. It was there all along. See, Elisha, he said, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. There's more of us than there are of them. Really? There is. But see, the servant couldn't see it. And Elisha could. Elisha, he could see it. Now, what does this mean to us today? I want to ask you this question. When you look out in your life right now, when you look out in your future right now, what do you see? What do you see? When you look at your marriage, when you look at your future, when you look at your relationships, when you look at your family, your in-laws, your aging parents, your job, your college, your school, your education, when you look at all these things, what do you see? Because you can be in one of 2 people right now. You can be like the servant, and he's freaking out, what are we going to do? Now, how many times have you come to your husband and you said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I don't know what we're going to do with our son. He ate poisonous berries. I mean, what are we going to do? He just put everything in his mouth. He's going to get choked. What are we going to do with our job? They keep talking about laying people off and all, there's no future. What are we going to do? And I know that men typically have an attitude like, oh, he'll be all right. You know, they typically have that attitude. It'll be all right. There is nobody as laid back as my brother. I love him with all my heart. There is nobody as laid back as my brother. He's awesome. And I'm the one sometimes who has the outlook like the servant. I go, what are we going to do? And my brother, he's just so laid back. He's like, well, I'm going to do this and this and this. I mean, the house would be on fire and I'll be like freaking out like, oh my, we got to get it. And my brother would be like, now, what do I want to get? And see, there's fire here, so I want to make sure that I stay away here. And he'll just, okay. And I'm freaking out, like, get out of the house! And he's like, it's okay. See, I tend to be more on the side of the servant here. I'm freaking out. That's where I'm focusing on the things that are against me. My brother has this awesome way of seeing things that nobody else sees. Elisha is seeing things right now that nobody else is seeing. See those 30,000 troops that came against him? They don't see the angel armies. His own servant doesn't see the angel armies. But Elisha sees something that nobody else sees. So again, this question, when you look out, what do you see? Now I want you to answer this to yourself right now. When I look out in my life, when I look out at my job, when I look at my future, my parents, what do you see? What do you see? Because maybe you see no future. Maybe you see no hope. Maybe you don't see your marriage lasting in the future. Maybe you don't see any hope for your parents. Maybe you're trying to freak out and wonder, how in the world am I going to take care of my parents who are aging? Or how in the world am I going to prepare for my future? How can we get out of debt? That's all I see is debt. Debt, 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 and debt. There's no way out. And maybe that when you look out in your future, that's all you see. But when Elisha looks out, he sees something completely different. And here's this one phrase that I want you to grab onto. And here's my only point for today. Because we're almost done. Only point. And I really want you to grab onto this. And Tony had no idea what the message was going to be on today, but I just think this is absolutely amazing. What you choose to see will determine what you do. What you choose to see will determine what you do. For example, you look at your wife and all you see is somebody who nags, then your future is not going to be very bright. But if you can look at your wife and remember the reason why you married her, how gorgeous she looked at that altar whenever you said, I do, I would say your future's pretty bright. If you look at your aging parents and all you see is a burden and a headache, then your future's not going to be very bright. But if you can look at your parents, you can say, wow, they invested so much in me, and now I have the honor to blessing in them, then your future's going to be bright. Maybe you look at your job, like, man, I had the same job. I've not had a pay raise in 8 years. I'm freaking out. I don't know what I'm going to do. That becomes your focus, and your future's not going to be very bright. But if you can look at it and you say, you know what? I'm so glad. Thank you, God, that I've got a job when other people don't. Maybe you look at your education, and I'm the one who really struggles with this because it took me 5 years to get a 2-year degree. Is that not crazy? 5 years to get a 2-year degree. You're supposed to complete it in 2 years. It took me 5. It's messed up because I was looking at things through the servant of Elisha. Not the way Elisha did. The way you look at things is going to determine what you're going to do next. You're crazy if you think that there's a perfect spouse out there for you. You're crazy. It's not. There is not. Y'all going to be living together. You're going to have arguments over toothpaste. Who put the empty milk jug back? I mean, you're going to have arguments like that. You are. I know you're laughing because some of you have already had these things. It doesn't matter. Does toothpaste, you squeeze it from the bottom or from the middle or from the top? I mean, we argue over these things. Where does the bathroom towel go? You wouldn't think that a towel would have that much carry and have much weight, but still yet, we let stupid stuff like towels and toilet paper and toothpaste come between husbands and wives, don't we? We do. Who's going to wash the dishes? Who's going to wash the dishes? I'm tired of washing the dishes. You wash them. Let's just ignore them. Let's just ignore them. Ignore them. Again, the way you look at things is going to determine what you're going to do next. The way you look at things. I don't know what you've got that you're facing right now, that when you look out, that's all you see. Maybe it's you've got 6 more years of education, or maybe your job just seems like it's just a dead-end job and it's not going any future. Maybe you and your spouse should just keep fighting and fighting and fighting, and it's just like, man, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Maybe it is. I may mention to your Asian parents because it's tough on a lot of people. It's tough. When you look out right now in your life, what do you see? Do you see a future that's bright? Or do you see one that's not so bright? Because you can change that today. You can change your outlook. You know what? No longer am I going to see my spouse as that negative person. I'm going to quit talking bad about it. I'm going to quit doing that. I'm going to be uplift. I'm going to speak encouraging words. I'm going to try to honor it. I'm going to try to pick up my towel. I'm going to do these things. I'm going to do these things. Or maybe when it comes to your parents, maybe instead of being so condescending, you start building them up and encouraging them and thanking them for all those years that they invested in you. Because at one point, they were the ones changing your diapers. in your future, what does it look like? And when you look at your future, does all you see at all these armies and everything against you? Or do you see that with God, nothing is impossible? I want you to bow your head. I want you to bow your head and close your eyes for a minute. And this is a time just between you and God. When you look out, what do you see? I've already asked you to kind of identify what that is. I want you to call out to God right now. God, when I look out, I see you fill in that blank. God, when I look out, this is what I see. This is what I see. And I'm sure that many of us here, we've got something negative that we see. Something that's not so exciting, something that's not so encouraging. When you look out at your future right now, what do you see? I want you to tell it to God. God, I see this. Fill in the blank. God, I see this. I want you to identify that. Now that you've identified it, you know what that is. When you look out and this is what you see. Do you want to see something different? Do you want to experience the God of angel armies? Do you want to experience when all there is war and all there is destruction? And that's when you look out and that's what you see. Are you tired and you want to see the God of angel armies move and work in your life? You want to see what nobody else sees so you can do what people think that you cannot do. God, I want to see you. Open my eyes that I may see you. I want to pray for you today. If that's your prayer today, I want to pray today that you want to see the Lord of angel armies. You want to see God move in your life and in your family and in your job and in your future. If that's you today, I would love that opportunity to pray for you. Would you just slip up your hand? Hands are going up. I just want to pray for you. I want to see that in my life. I want to see those things. Father God, you are absolutely amazing and so incredibly awesome. And we're so excited, God, that even though that there can be so much against us, we know that there is so much more for us. God, there is so much going on that even though that we can look out, we see destruction, and we see turmoil, we see divorce, and we see little hope, that we can choose to look at something different and look at it through your eyes, and we can see, God, that we are the ones who win. Help us, God, to encourage our spouse. Help us, God, to be thankful for where we are in life. And God, help us to be so thankful for our jobs and for our parents. Help us, God, to look through things through your eyes, that we realize that there is so much for us and there is against us. Fill us up, God, with your glory, that we may be able to see, God, what you see, even when everybody else tells us there's no future and no hope. God, we need you now more than ever. In a world that seems like there's all that's going on, there's war and rumors of war and drugs and abuse and prostitution and sexual trafficking. God, all these things. Help us, God, to look at this world through your eyes, that we can see that you're not done with us yet. Fill us up, God, with your glory, that we may create an environment that is preparing our kids for their future. That we might invest in them and prepare them, God, for what great life you have in store for them. May we not give up on them. God, may we not give up on ourselves. You're not done with us yet, God. Sometimes when we look in the mirror, all we see is anger and disgust. We don't like what we see. But God, when we look in the mirror through your eyes, we see that we are created beautifully. For you are the one who created us. So God, my prayers today, that we would not let things get us down. That we would live on the edge like Elisha. And that we would choose to see what no one else sees. So we can do what others say can't be done. It's through Jesus we pray. Amen.